Russia stepping up its military presence in Syria after a Russian warplane was shot down by Turkey. Putin deploying a state-of-the-art air defense missile system to Syria and stationing a missile cruiser off of the coast of Syria. My next guest says that Putin has shown restraint so far despite his latest military move. Joining me now, the president of the Foundation for Defense of Democracy is Clifford May. And Clifford, listen, this whole question about what is Putin going to do, you are very much familiar with Russia. You've got a Russian certificate. You know a lot about them. What do you think he's going to do?
Putin is not one to leave insults and offenses unanswered, but he is going to be deliberate about it. He is somebody who believes, as they say, that revenge is a dish best served cold. He is angry at the Turks. He also has to answer ISIS for bringing down a passenger jet over Sinai not long ago, and I think there will be repercussions from all of this. The important thing you just expressed, he is not getting out of Syria. He is doubling down. He is going to defend Assad, and he is angry, and there will be consequences. We just don't know what from the option list he will pick.
And that's the problem, is that a lot of people look at him, and General Scales was on earlier and saying, he's got to, look good in front of the people. And so with Turkey, if he does retaliate some way, what happens? They're a NATO country. Can they invoke, Clause 5 or whatever that...
Article.
Yes. The term that says we have to defend them as well. Can this get us, as the Pope said, incrementally into World War III?
It's a very dangerous situation. You're talking about Article 5. NATO members are meant to defend one another. It hasn't been invoked yet. But yes, if there is an attack in some way, and you mentioned the S-400 system that he's bringing in against Turkey, and it could be invoked, then the question is, will NATO come to Turkey's defense? Now, there are two possibilities. One, that NATO will, and you'll have an escalation. The other is that NATO won't, and if NATO doesn't, can NATO continue to exist, or does it look at that point like an absolute paper tiger? So that's why this does get into a very, very dangerous situation. And by the way, I have to say that among the long-term ambitions that I think we know Putin has, one would be to see NATO collapse. He'd think that's a very good day, a day for opening some vodka and celebrating.
And that, it seems like he's poking at is that certainly the Paris situation is a totally different matter, but still, Paris could invoke that too and say, hey, we need you to get involved militarily with us, President Obama. You said you'd back us up. And now Turkey, it seems on the Turkey matter that Putin is poking at NATO and saying, just how far will you go?
Yeah, I think that's true. Look, NATO is looking largely irrelevant when you have both Turkey being hit by Russia, well, not Turkey being hit by Russia, but Turkey's borders being invaded by Russia, Russian aircraft, and more importantly, you have ISIS attacking on French soil, and NATO essentially doing nothing about it. What's the purpose? Now, people have thought for a long time that Putin might want to see if he could collapse NATO by, for example, invading Estonia or Latvia or Lithuania and seeing if there would be a response. Also, most of the NATO members, unfortunately, do not have tremendously good military capabilities. The second biggest military in NATO after the U.S. is, in fact, Turkey. And the other thing that's important to recognize, and I think this is important to point out because I think French President Hollande is wrong about this, he thinks that Russia can somehow be an ally. What the Russian planes were probably doing was hitting Turkoman positions in Syria. The Turkomans are anti-Assad, but they are not pro-ISIS. That's who is being targeted. And I think Erdogan of Turkey thought he needed and thinks he needs to not leave the Turkomans, who are his allies, undefended. And this is why this gets so complicated.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's very complex. Clifford May, thank you. Appreciate your expertise. Very much.
Thank you.
You bet.